The producers also failed to report the long-standing, well-sourced information detailing the symbiotic relationship between the CIA and Muslim terrorists.
We are getting ready for the next round.
Remember this, your government funded and trained Al-Qaeda. Repeat it again, your government funded and trained Al-Qaeda.
There happened to be a routine defence training exercise taking place at the US Air Defence Command. So when the first reports of a possible hijack came through from civilian air traffic control, 57 minutes later, some of the military thought the reports were part of the exercise.
We have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to scramble some F-16s or something up there.
What?
Is this real world or exercise? No, it's not an exercise like that.
But in the confusion, it was a further 9 minutes before interceptors were scrambled.
The programme claimed that confusion created by one routine exercise contributed to the failure to intercept the hijacked airliners. But they did not reveal there were actually several exercises running that day, some of which envisaged planes being flown into high-profile targets. The BBC didn't examine in detail any of the exercises running that morning, or how they might have affected the response times of the most advanced air force in the world.
Davin Coburn suggests the military was slow to respond because they were simply unprepared. A passenger airline hadn't been hijacked in the US since 1979, and now there were 4 at once.
Davin Coburn, a journalist for Popular Mechanics, was the only proponent of the official story interviewed by the BBC regarding the Air Force response. The BBC and Coburn implied that the United States Air Force was not in a position to cope with hijacked aircraft. Yet from September 2000 to June 2001, there had been 67 successful mobilisations of fighters in response to off-course aircraft.
And even as they took off, the pilots were still unclear about exactly where they were supposed to go.
We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need you guys to scramble some F-16s or something up there.
Jets scrambled on 9/11 took off from faraway bases and flew at a fraction of their top speed. Yet the programme makers did not include this or details of standard operating procedures in the event of a plane going off course.
Traditionally, hijackers don't attempt to disappear. In this case, they turned off the transponders, and so when they went to primary radar, when air traffic controller tried to find them, there were like 4,500 blips that looked identical across the United States. And these hijackers were turning planes back around. They were taking them off their desired course. Air traffic control in Cleveland was looking west, trying to find Flight 93.
His theory does not confer with all the available data. Air traffic control and military radar systems do not simply lose track of flights if they stray off course and their transponders are turned off.
The jet fighters didn't reach Long Island till 22 minutes after the second tower had been hit. In the post-mortem, the military and civilian air traffic control both gave inaccurate information about the precise timings of how long they took to respond to the hijackings.
In fact, the US authorities have provided a variety of different timelines. Why didn't the BBC inform the viewer about this revision or ask the relevant officials about these as yet unexplained contradictions?
You got three stories. You now had three stories about 9/11. The first few days after 9/11, Myers, NORAD, and others were saying, we didn't send up any flights until after the Pentagon was hit. On September 18th, they came out with their timeline. They said, here's when the FAA told us, and here's when we scrambled airplanes, and unfortunately they just couldn't get there in time. Critics have looked at those timelines and said, you still could have made it. You could have stopped Flight 175. You certainly could have stopped Flight 77, assuming it was. So they tell you that what we've been told since September 18th is all false. When September 18th, NORAD's timeline said we got a notification of Flight 175 at 8:43, the 9/11 Commission says, no, that was a mistake. They didn't know about it until the South Tower was hit. And then Flight 77, they said, well, we got notification at 9:24. No notification. We only heard about it 2 minutes ahead of time. Just a complete rewriting of history. And revisionism is fine, but you've got to show why the old story was false and why the new story is more credible. They don't do that. They just say, that was incorrect. That was incorrect.
They found plenty of evidence of confusion and chaos, but no deliberate attempt to mislead the public, and no conspiracy to ground the fighters.
The conspiracy files advanced the incompetence theory, but did not subject it to examination.
A recent official investigation has concluded that this was because of human error in the fog of war.
The report that concluded the US military had not deliberately misled the 9/11 Commission claimed the discrepancies were due to a lack of capabilities and thoroughness. Although the Pentagon was cleared of lying, the BBC did not make it clear that this report, and another dating from May 2005, did not explain why a variety of official witnesses gave misleading testimony to an official inquiry. The BBC did not question this or the legitimacy of the Department of Defence investigating itself. In June 2001, the Department of Defence put out new orders to its top generals governing Air Force response in the event of a suspected hijack. It stated that for all non-immediate intervention, the military had to now get permission directly from the Secretary of Defence.